Okay, what's up, everybody? I'm here with my friend known as Wild Man Dan. What is up, bro? How are you doing?
Hey, what's up, man? Doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I am super excited about this interview. If for those of you who don't know Wild Man Dan yet, you need to get to know him. Follow him on Instagram, bro. I just checked out your TikTok. You have almost like 15,000 followers, bro. That thing's growing.
Yeah, actually, I think I just hit 15,000 today. It's a blessing, and I appreciate all of my followers. You guys mean the world to me, but it's getting crazy. It's getting crazy.
Yeah, man. I've been looking forward to this. I was just scrolling on Instagram one day. I met Danny up at Camp Yavapines, and my first experience with you, I was a speaker up there. It's for those of you who don't know what Camp Yavapines is, it's just a summer camp, a Christian-based summer camp, for youth basically. And Danny, what were you working up there as?
I was like the reptile guy, the animal tracker.
Okay.
I was basically the animal guy for the kids. Just try to bring some wildlife to their life.
The animal guy for the kids. Yeah, and I just remember I remember we were with a group of guys and I just see like in your pocket or like in your shirt. First of all, you always had a lizard on you.
Yeah,
For those of you who are watching on YouTube or just listening in, I think he has a lizard on him right now, and he had a lizard on him just like on his neck, always hanging there.
yeah.
And then you had a squirrel in like your pocket or fanny pack, and I was like, what is this guy doing?
Hey, like I said, I was the animal guy, but I always had my bearded dragon with me. Always. Charlie was always with me. And then that squirrel just happened to join the adventure like midway through camp.
Yeah, man. I thought it was hilarious. And I was like, man. So first I thought this guy has like he just has a love for animals. But then as I started, post camp watching you on Instagram and everything, you came out with the Wild Man Dan show. And that was exciting. And I think we're gonna get a bit of a show this morning. I know you have some animals with you. For those of you who are watching, you can tune in on this. That Danny's gonna show us.
Yeah, I didn't want to take up too much time on your show, but you know me, I have to get my passion out there, and
Let's
I
do
want to
this.
show you guys some cool stuff. So let's talk about a couple things. I got three things for you. I'll make it quick. So right here, I've got my green tree monitor. The reason why I had to show this guy is because I absolutely love this species. Not only are they intelligent and super quick, but they're just so beautiful. There's a couple varieties of these: yellow, green, and blue, if I remember correctly. And I believe there's also a black tree monitor.
Oh my
These guys
gosh.
are just gorgeous. Arboreal species, which means they live way up high in the tree. I believe they're found in New Guinea. And the best thing I love about these guys is they're problem solvers.
Ooh.
You actually have to give them stuff in their environment in order to challenge them, like make them think.
Hmm.
Cutest thing is they stick their little hand inside of tubes to grab food. This is just it's
What?
the most the cutest thing ever. So if you get a chance, check them out. Green tree monitor, beautiful species. Just love these guys.
That's crazy. And you
Another animal I wanted to show you guys. This guy's venomous, but they can be absolute sweethearts at the same time. Everybody knows these guys that live in the United States.
Oh my goodness.
So this
No
guy
way.
right here is known as a beaded lizard, the distant cousin of the Gila monster, which we can find in Arizona.
Yep.
I'm sure there's some around Prescott. You know what I mean? I wish I would have found one while I was out there. But these guys are venomous. Their venom glands are found at the bottom of the jaw. I don't know if you can get a really good shot of that.
Look at that.
They've also got some gnarly claws, as you can see my arm getting
Dude, those are
ripped
hands.
up right now. Yeah. Like, oh man, I was showing this guy to a bunch of elementary students not too long ago at a school here in Albuquerque, Sandy View Christian school, and I've still got some scratches from the last encounter.
Oh
But
my
just a beautiful
goodness.
pattern, and the really cool thing about these guys has got to be the osteoderms. So they're called the beaded lizard because they've got these beautiful beads on their back. And
That's
they
wild.
actually do feel like beads. There's tiny little bones that are actually right underneath the skin that gives them that armor plating. So these guys are rock solid. But if you see one of these or a Gila monster, definitely leave it alone. They are venomous, and a bite from these guys, it hurts. Last
So
one I wanted to show you after I get this guy off my head. Pets are great to have, but you got to know what you're getting yourself into.
Dude, these are wild animals.
And that's a perfect segue into the last animal I want to show everybody. Let me let the green tree monitor go. All right, later, buddy. He's really walking now.
He'll just
So
roam
these
your
guys,
house.
I always get asked a lot, like, hey, what's a great starter pet? What's a good animal for my kid? What's a great way to start off with reptiles? And honestly, there's two animals that I think would be best to start off with. If you're looking for a lizard, definitely has to be a bearded dragon. That's the one that you saw on my shoulder every day at camp.
Yeah.
Bearded dragons are from Australia, just beautiful creatures, super easy going. They eat fruits, vegetables, as well as tons of different types of insects. So it's not very hard to get them eating.
Yeah.
And they make great pets. And then for snakes, I've got to recommend these guys, which I keep.
Oh my goodness.
So here we've got 2 corn snakes.
Wow.
Sorry, excuse me. I got a little.
Oh, you're good.
Throat. So here we got 2 beautiful corn snakes. One's an albino, and I believe the other one's an okatee. These guys make great pets. They're really good at eating, so you're not going to really have too much of an issue there. And usually they're super docile. They don't get much bigger than about 4 feet.
Right.
These guys are obviously pushing that size. I'm sure some have gotten 6 feet long, but just sweethearts. They make great pets for kids, and also they are great for showing at schools and for different functions. Just beautiful animals. And
I'm assuming corn snakes are safe then.
Oh yeah, corn snakes are definitely safe. I mean, every animal can bite. If it's got a mouth, it does something with it. But the thing is, they're not out to get us. None of these animals are. Yeah. They want to do their own thing, and sometimes they actually don't mind hanging around humans. So beautiful animals. But I just wanted to show you a couple animals. Thanks for letting me show you. And if y'all have any questions, y'all know where to reach me at.
Dude, Wild Man Dan doing it. That's amazing. That's so cool. Yeah, I've never been fearful of snakes, but I was mountain biking with a buddy not too long ago. And, I see my buddy just like bail on his bike. And I was like, oh man, like, he's such a sucker. Like he couldn't make that little jump. And I just hear snake. He's just yelling snake and turns around and runs away. And I'm like, I got to see this thing. And just across the path was just this very long rattlesnake. And, I kind of came up on it, but dude, these things are crazy. And I've seen you grabbed rattlesnakes before. Like you mess around with these things.
Yeah. I mean, I don't recommend it unless you're a trained professional. So, I mean, I've been doing this for years, but for mountain bikers, you guys are up there in the morning and then late afternoon, which is exactly when these animals are moving. They're looking for food, a new place to lay out for any mice or maybe to warm up in the middle of the day. Sorry, excuse me.
Oh, you're good.
But yeah, there are rattlesnakes out there, man. They're all over the United States, and you're gonna come across one of them eventually.
Yeah.
But like I'm sure you noticed when you got to see him, the thing he probably did was first he stayed still. And then he probably tried to take off, or he started rattling. He was like, "Yo, get back."
Rattled.
And you were like, "Hey, no worries, I'm good." And that's what they do. They're like, "Oh no, okay, he saw me. I gotta let him know. Hey, don't come closer. That's why I'm making this noise right now. I don't want to bite you, and I don't want to get stepped on." So
yeah, I tried telling my friend, like, bro, I'm pretty sure he or she is more scared of you than you are of it, and he's like, "No way, man." The way that thing's rattling, it's gonna kill me.
And that's the crazy thing. People are scared of the rattle. I'm like, the rattle is a warning. Like, that's literally auditory for you to hear with 2 ears. They're like, hey, you may not see me, but can you hear me? Back up. You're gonna step on me. And that's what they're scared of. These giant feet or this rolling wheel. They don't want to get crushed. Exactly.
Growing up, my family, we had turtles, we had saltwater fish, we had freshwater fish, we had chameleons, we had lovebirds, we had parrots. My house was like a zoo growing up. We had a parrot named PDP, and he was a Spanish talking parrot, and he could speak Spanish. It's super interesting. But apart from that, what gave you a love for just so many other animals, especially wild ones?
That's actually a really good question, but your life sounds way more interesting than mine. And mine is pretty basic. Well, my dad's a pastor for the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Okay.
And I was born in Berrien Springs, Michigan. Not a
wow.
lot of reptiles out there.
For sure, no.
Cold, you know what I mean? But I was only there for about a year. I never actually have lived there to remember anything.
Mm-hmm.
But then we were in like Texas, New Mexico, and all over the place. But the basic thing is my dad was allergic to anything that had fur. So like the dandruff of like dogs, cats, birds, ferrets, rodents, you name it, wasn't a thing. But since I was little, man, since the age of 2 years old, my mom has a photo of me at 2 years old.
Yeah.
Catching a horny toad in Texas. I was literally holding a little lizard in Texas. By the age of 3, there was a rule that I was not allowed back into the house unless I emptied out my pockets of whatever living creature I had. So obviously this innate love and passion for animals started from a young age, and I believe it was a gift from God. But the reptiles came because I wasn't allowed to have a dog or a cat because of my dad. So by the age of when I was in 6th grade, my dad and my mom knew how much I loved animals and wanted to give me a pet for the first time. And they told me if I got on the principal's list, they'd get me a bearded dragon. And let me tell you, I was on the principal's list so fast, it wasn't even funny. I'm sure they thought they had like a year, a couple of years. Maybe I'd be in 8th grade by the time I got there. No, you motivate me to get me something I want. I was there. I had a bearded dragon within 2 weeks of being on the principal's list, man.
I love it.
It was crazy. And then from there, well, I mean, like social media kind of just shows it. I went from bearded dragon to rattlesnakes to giant pythons to, oh man, I've had it all. I've had it all.
That's wild. I mean, that's so funny that the principal's list motivated you. That was a good motivator. That was smart.
Yeah, they were like principal's list bearded dragon. I was like, okay, here are your A's.
Here, done. Have you had any crazy like run-ins? Because what I see you doing sometimes, what you're posting on TikTok, and you can follow him on Wildman Dan. I think Wildman Dan is a title for everything across Instagram. Wildman Dan Show.
Yeah,
Wildman Dan Show. Have there been any crazy incidences that you've been in, especially with wildlife?
Oh, tons. I can't even mention all of them, but let's see. One time we were in Southern California looking for rattlesnakes to do the show. It was the very first shoot we ever did in 2019, April 6th, the very first shoot.
Okay.
And we were looking for the Southern Pacific rattlesnake. Now, rattlesnakes aren't aggressive, and I like to use that word a lot. They're not aggressive. What they are is defensive. They are defensive because they don't know what you're trying to do. They don't know if you're trying to step on them, kill them, eat them. So they're scared. They're going to rattle and they're going to strike at you.
Mm-hmm.
So this one is notoriously for being a little bit more bitey than the rest of them. They strike first, rattle later. And so we're up here in the mountains, and I'm looking for these animals, right? And I'm standing on top of a rock ledge, and below there's another rock ledge with a bunch of bushes. Yeah. And I'm usually very careful to look. So I'm looking around, and I'm like, okay, I don't see anything. I'm going to jump down to this rock ledge and check underneath the crack. Mm-hmm. When I jumped next to the bush, didn't notice there were like 3 or 4 of them tucked in there. That's how good their camouflage is. I almost peed myself, first of all. And then secondly, I ended up catching 2 of them.
Oh my goodness.
But man, when I hit the ground and I was just like, strike. I was like, oh my goodness, grab. And then 2 of them got away and I was like, I got him. My camera guy's like, I didn't get any of that on footage because I didn't know what was going on. And I was like, no. Oh, but there was that incident. The incident that happens to me most of the time, and this happens to a lot of people, they just don't know it, is rattlesnakes are kings of camouflage, as I just pointed out.
Right.
I have walked over and by hundreds of rattlesnakes. And I mean, just a casual walk looking for them, right? Purposefully looking for them. And I'll walk and I'll step over something and I'm like, nah. No, I think it was. And I'll turn around and boom, right there on the road. And I just walked by there. A rattlesnake, and he's just like, did he see me?
He's chilling.
And then they're like, oh, he saw me.
That's great. So the snakes actually struck at you. They struck at you before you grabbed them.
Thank God I was like far away enough that they didn't actually get me. But I don't recommend jumping from one ledge to the other until you really give it a good look at
Yeah,
this point. But
for
those
sure.
were two of my craziest experiences. They have got to be.
That's crazy for sure, man. And one place I want to go is kind of, we never really talk about this, but kind of like the psychology of
Mm,
animals a little bit, because
mm,
I've come to find animals really fascinating.
mm,
Now, you shared your dad as a pastor, and both of us kind of had experience in the church, and
mhm.
in Scripture, animals are used as illustrations for bigger ideas. Like God
Mm.
is considered the lion of the tribe of Judah, right? He's not necessarily like, he's also a lamb. So it's kind of demonstrating a little bit of his character type of
Mm.
thing. And the Bible, speaking of snakes, the Bible says, be as wise as serpents and as harmless as doves. So you've just described snakes being very wise. Hey, I'm just going to camouflage and wait here. Maybe he didn't see me. Maybe Wild Man Dan won't catch me. I'm just going to stay put. But yeah, I don't know if you can speak to that. Like, are there any animals that you find like really interesting, and kind of dive into the psychology?
No, if we're going to talk about the psychology of snakes, man, oh my goodness. I think it would have to be the black mamba if I'm going to talk about
There we
any
go.
snake. Okay.
Yes.
If I'm going to talk about any snake. And it's true. To be as wise as a serpent is no joke if we're going to talk about it in the Bible. I mean, like the serpent alone was able to, deceive Adam and Eve.
Exactly.
They have got to be the smartest human beings. They were the first ones created, absolutely perfect, and still fell for a snake. So, you've got that when God says something, it's true.
Right.
But if we're going to talk about a snake, I think it would have to be a black mamba. Now, my experience with black mambas are very far and few in between.
Okay.
Reason why is because when you're working with snakes, you have a system of how you go between snake and snake. So first you want to start off with your non-venomous snakes. This gives you an idea of how they work, how they function.
Yes.
And then you can learn and see their emotions is the best way I could describe it, or how the animal's feeling, the attitude it has against you. They don't smile and frown and do all sorts of stuff, but they do other things. You just have to be able to pick up on it.
Yeah.
One thing is like the snake, the tongue itself. There are different tongue flicks that actually show whether an animal is curious, looking for something, or showing that it is scared or nervous and is most likely going to bite. So you can see this with rattlesnakes are a great example.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do it right now. Oh my goodness,
Yeah, do
it. Hate me. So there's this snake tongue. You go, quick in and out, and it's fast, right? That's more of your curious one. Now, rattlesnakes, on the other hand, when you approach them and you scare them a little bit or cause them to be a little bit more defensive, and they're getting ready to strike at you, you're going to see something super different. Okay. The tongue's going to go out, and it'll go down, and it'll hold down for a while, and then all of a sudden it'll go up, and it'll hold up above his head, and he'll just hold it there, and hold it there, and hold there, and then it'll go back in, and you're like, okay, what was that? Yeah. Now that snake is trying to take in as much information right then and there, trying to collect as much sense as possible on his tongue, so that when he goes for it, boom, you get hit. Right. So you start with your non-venomous to get to know them. Then you also get to figure out how they strike. A lot of non-venomous snakes, they'll bite you no matter what. Like the coach whip. Coach whips are super fast, and they're ready to go. Yeah. As much as they want, they're like, I'm going to bite you, I'm going to bite you, I'm going to bite you, I'm going to bite you. It doesn't hurt, but they still bite you. But you get to learn it. Then you maybe move on to rattlesnakes. Then maybe your lapids a little bit, like your cobras. Cobras, I feel like, are a little bit easier. But at the end of the day, top of the top would have to be your black mambas, your taipans. And those are for specific reasons, like the type of venom that they have, but also because of how intelligent these animals are. I was told the story of a black mamba that was owned by a gentleman that I believe used to go to Loma Linda University, or at least my colleagues at Loma Linda University knew him. He was blind in the left eye, if I remember the story correctly, blind in the left eye, and he had a black mamba. Now, this black mamba would only come after this gentleman on his left side. So on his blind side, this animal would consistently come and try to strike this gentleman. Now, you can't tell me that this snake just so happened to figure that out by absolute chance. No.
Right.
These snakes are very smart. They know how to hide really well. They know where to get away from. They know where their prey is. They know how to look for their prey. They know how to capture their prey.
Yeah.
These animals are good at what they do. They're good at camouflaging. They have these adaptations and these characteristics that shine in these specific aspects. And some of these animals are very smart. They know how to escape from cages if you show them one time. So, I don't think we give these animals enough credit. And there's tons of research still being, done on these animals, but they're not dumb. They're smart. They know what they're doing, and we got to be a little bit more wary of them. A little bit more respect for the snake.
A little bit more respect the animal. Yeah. Well, yeah, even you described that, like we had that parrot, and we would try a million different ways to close Petey's cage. Like we take the little, like, when you used to buy bread, it would have these little wire ties on it. We would take those wire ties and try to tie the cage with it. Yeah. But Petey would know how to untie the wires with his mouth and then just get out. Mm-hmm. And for the longest time, Petey just became a key latch bird. He would just come and go as he pleased. And it's just so fascinating, these animals that are just in the wild, how, like, just smart they are. But yeah, I guess it's just so interesting because we think of animals as not really being self-aware or smart or anything, but I just find it really interesting.
No, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. And I know there's tons of people out there that have more crazy snake stories like that and can testify to their animal being intelligent in one way or another. But these animals, they got a brain. They may be small, but it's still a brain.
But they got a brain. What made you want to begin to capture these moments and, I guess, just share them? Like, I don't know, like, is it just your love, your passion for this? What made you want to start sharing this?
That would have to be Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter. Oh, since I was little, I was watching that man, and my dream in life, which unfortunately is gone, was to work underneath him. And his family. His family is amazing, the Irwin family, as far as what I've learned and what I know. Others may have different opinions, but I like to believe in the Irwins. So that's me personally. And so, I've always loved animals. I always caught them. My first rattlesnake when I was 12 years old. Like I said, I don't recommend it. I did it and I was safe, luckily. And then I got training later. So like I said, don't do this unless you're a trained professional. But I learned everything from him and watching all sorts of different other shows. I believe there was Venom ER. That was another show.
Okay.
There was, I think, like Snake Venom Hunters or something like that. I used to watch that one. So I learned a lot about animals through Animal Planet, Discovery Channel, and all these different shows, and also techniques on how to catch these animals. And one day, I think it was somebody was like, hey, why don't you start recording yourself and putting it online? I think it was my dad specifically, actually. And I was like, you know what? I think I might. He bought me a GoPro, and I went out by myself, and I actually have some videos on my original YouTube channel, which was called Duro Plates. Okay. I think I have some snapping turtles I caught, a couple red racers, some crawdads, some turtles, some frogs, some stuff here and there. And then I met a good old friend from high school and from New Mexico days, Chad Osborne. And he went out with me. I was like, hey, you got a camera. I know you're a camera guy. Why don't you come out with me and let's do a shoot? If you like it, maybe you keep helping me. If you don't, at least you enjoyed the trip and I took you all over the place and I fed you. And I took him and we caught, I think it was like something like 12 to 14 rattlesnakes in one day, not to mention all the other different species that we caught. He introduced me to another production company called Optech Pictures. It's owned by Ben and Corey Osborne.
Okay.
And from there, I pitched the idea. And they were like, listen, your passion and your love for these animals and just the footage that you got for us, even though it was, it was just random. It was completely out of there. It's not scripted whatsoever. They were like, I think we can do something from this. And well, April 6, 2019 was the beginning of Wild Man Dan. And so here we are,
dude,
2 years later.
That is so exciting, man. And are you like, how are you pursuing this, like, full time? Is this something that you're just kind of interested in? What's the level of dedication that's going on here? I mean, it's pretty serious.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm working on this every single day, and so is my team, my entire team, and I got to give them props for everything. I'm just the face and I catch the
You
crazy stuff. So I do that. But if anything, it's behind the scenes. It's my whole team, the Wild Man Dan Show team. I mean,
Right.
like I've got Emily, I've got Ben, I've got Jamil, I've got Corey, I've got Nate, I've got who else? Nikki, can't forget Nikki. I've got my new guy, Greg. He just hopped on. Great. Laurel, one of my animators. I've got the Blacks, the Black family. Their last name is Black. they're super cool. I've got Dr. Hayes, all of my classmates from Loma Linda University and my professors. Yeah. So they're all helping me, but it all goes to them. But we're working on it daily. We're hopefully going to have the absolute first actual episode out here soon, by the grace of God, really soon. But the teaser trailer's out, and if you check out social media, I'm posting there almost every single day. Something new, something wild, something crazy. Sometimes it's a little boring, but at least it's educational. So
okay. Dude,
definitely an everyday thing.
So how far are you hoping to take this? Like, are we going to see you on Netflix? Are we going to see you on, what's the goal? What's the goal with this?
You know, I don't know. I guess it's however far people will let me go.
Yeah.
You know, if they want to put it on Netflix, I'm all for it. I'm not going to say no. If Animal Planet's like, we want this guy.
There we go.
I'm definitely not going to say no. If the Irwin family's like, hey, we'd love to work with you. Oh, please, for the love of God, take me to Australia. So whatever's clever, I'm all for. We definitely want to, we want to pitch it to PBS. Netflix, Hulu, get some sort of series out there. Of course, everybody wants to do something big, but I'm wanting to go as big as God will let me, and as big as my followers will take me, because it's all because of you guys, and especially you, people like you, man. So,
man. Yeah, I know you're inspiring, man. That's why I want to ask you some of these personal questions, because, some people, they look at their passions and they look at their interests and they're kind of like, oh man, that's kind of like that's something that I'm kind of interested in. But you've you've just tapped into that space in your life. You're like, yo, I'm all in. And I don't know. I find that very energizing. I think it's really cool. Let's see. So, what do you hope to accomplish with all of this? Like, I know a part of it is educational, part of it for you is fun, but through the Wild Man Dan Show, what is it that you're hoping to do or hoping to accomplish?
That one's pretty simple, man. It's just helping people understand these misunderstood creatures, and that's really all it is. You'll see on my social media page, I've got tarantulas, scorpions, centipedes, rattlesnakes, snakes, lizards, creepy crawlies, man. And I love all animals. I love the tigers. I love the bears. I love the dogs. I love the cats. One day, if I can, I want one of everything. It'd be great.
You want a zoo.
legally owned and with a habitat big enough to house all these animals.
For sure.
If I could have a zoo, woo, yes, please. But it's really just to guide and help people understand that these creatures are on this world with us. They have every right to, and sometimes we encroach on their habitat, and they end up being in our backyards. But they're nothing to actually be scared of. Sure, they can be dangerous. Don't get me wrong. Rattlesnake is venomous. You know what I mean? Yeah. Centipede is venomous. The tarantula is venomous. These animals sometimes are big enough to eat us. It is true, but they deserve respect, not fear. And that's what I'm here for. The end goal is to take away that fear factor. Yeah. There's no reason to have fear. There's no reason to teach our kids to fear anything. There's no reason for us to fear anything. What we should is respect. Just like how we respect one another. And we are both capable of causing each other harm, but we don't, because we have mutual respect. And same thing for these animals. We should have respect for these animals. We should understand what these animals do, where they're going to be, and how we can coexist with them, even if they're in our backyard.
Yeah, that's so funny. Well, yeah, I mean, I live in Arizona, so scorpions are a reality here. When I moved back here from California, where I went to school, scorpions were in my house like crazy, man. And I fear them, but I try to have a healthy respect for them. Coming at it from a biblical perspective, I look at Genesis 1 and 2, and mankind, given dominion over creation. Like it was our responsibility. Like Adam's first job was, tending to the garden, but then naming the animals. Like there was actual human interaction with another species. And I don't know, there's something about that seems, I'm not going to say primal, but very just like very instinctive, like almost just very like human. Like it's good for us. We were actually made for creation, and that kind of coexisting as you're describing. And
yeah, and it's actually funny that you said that he named all the animals. You know what everybody's saying is, right? Whenever you come across an animal, they're like, hey, don't name it or else you're going to get attached to it. You know what I mean? And and I think and it's so cool that you said that, because it just popped into my head. There's the word dominion, but at the same time, God says name all the animals.
Right.
What does that word dominion actually mean? And it means to care for. And that's exactly what happened to Adam. One, he figured out that he needed a helper and he was sad. Okay, yeah, we got that part.
He learned about himself.
He named all of these animals. That means he knew them by name, just like God knows us by name, each one of us. Wow. He created us in the womb. He knows how many hairs are on our head. He caused Adam to do the same thing that God does to us with every one of the creatures.
Wow.
And I think that's so cool that you mentioned that, and I'm going to use that now. So thank you. I just steal that from you.
I learned something too, man. That's actually really mind blowing. That level of intimacy, because it's true when you put a name on someone, something. You're right. That attachment begins to develop, and he gave Adam the responsibility of name these animals, grow a relationship with them.
He caused Adam to be attached to all of the creatures, and then the word dominion changed for Adam. It wasn't to rule or control over, but to care for and watch for, just like you would any child. Yeah. And that's the whole point of God creating all these creatures. One, to show us how amazing and beautiful God's mind is. I mean, like, look at this thing. Like, how did he come up with this? I don't know, but I think he made it for me. He was like, Daniel's going to love this. Check this out. I'm going to give it a green. I'm going to give it a prehensile tail. I'm going to make it smart. And honestly, his claws are really sharp and he won't sit still, but whatever. I can't sit still either. And then God gave it all to us so that we could see how beautiful his creation is. So
yeah, I think there's something very healthy. I mean, people love getting out and love camping and, getting out in nature and exploring. But I think it's so funny because that people describe that as the first Bible. That's like our first experiences out in creation, where you're not like reading a book, and trying to understand something, but you're out in creation, actually, living it, experiencing it. So I think that's awesome. Now, in your opinion, what do you think animals can teach us about ourselves? We live in, living in the city. You're living in Albuquerque, so I'm not sure how much in the city you are. What I see you doing is you're out venturing around, but living in the city, you can get so caught up with buildings, traffic, cars, people, money. But what do animals, kind of taking a step back and looking at animals, what does that teach us? What do you think can teach us about ourselves as humans?
That's a good question. I think everyone has some sort of level of I think that everybody has some sort of fascination or even just a little bit of curiosity when it comes to nature. Just a little bit. I think everybody is born with it, just a tiny bit. It may not be for everyone. Not everybody's going to go out and go catch something. Don't get me wrong, but I think everybody just has a little bit of curiosity, some a little more than others. For me, nature is my way of actually communicating with God. This is how I fell in love with God. Sure, I was raised in the church my whole life. I know about the whole Bible from front to back, middle, and forward. I mean, like, it was basically beat into me, going to church every day. I've heard all the crazy stories. Oh, I've seen an angel. Oh, God's talked to me. Whatever.
Right.
None of that has happened to me. But what has happened to me is my communication with God was through nature. Personally. That's how we hang out. I go out and I'm like, hey, God, hey, can I see this today? And then he doesn't show me that, but he shows me like 20 other things. And I'm like, I've never seen any of those things. That's so cool.
Oh,
and then maybe
so cool.
Sometimes I could just sit down and I could just, be at peace. take a look
Yeah.
at the sunset that God made and just be like, wow, God, I wonder how much more beautiful it was when everything was perfect.
Wow.
And just for me, it helps me get away from everyday life. And if you're looking for something like that, maybe camping in the middle of winter or in the middle of summer isn't the thing for you.
Right.
But maybe spring and fall, right as
Mhm.
things are changing, temperatures are beautiful, there's not too many
Mm.
animals out, might be the thing for you, just to get away from everyday life. Maybe turn off your phone for 2 minutes and just
Yeah.
look up at the clouds. That's all I gotta say.
No, I love that, man. I think it's just so, especially I see it with people who are busy and they just want to get away from things. And then the way we get away is typically by getting away. We go out to nature, get away from the city, go back. And we find it so refreshing to be detached from just technology and all these other things to kind of, I like what you were saying, commune with God through nature. I
Yeah.
mean, it was the way Adam and Eve did it. Like they weren't given a book. They weren't
No.
like, hey, read this book and read about me. It was more so dwell in nature and just like, I think it said that God walked with them in the garden. Like God actually dwelt with them in nature. So I think you hit the nail on the head. I think one of the best ways we can find God is within nature itself, or being in nature itself.
Yeah, the cool of the evening, right, is where he
Mhm.
would meet, and that's when he came to look for them. And I think that's so it's beautiful, that God came to look for us in
Yeah.
nature, in what he created.
That's
And God's doing the same thing. Even if you're in the middle of the city, God's looking for you.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so cool. Yeah, and I love that idea. Yeah, God coming to with us in the cool of the day, like you said, he creates an environment in which he can actually dwell with us. He's not,
Uh-huh.
maybe, yeah, like you said, we don't want to camp in the summer. We don't want to
Yeah.
camp in the dead of winter. We want to create that cool, perfect weather where we can find that communion with him. But I do think that makes it more exciting. As you were sharing, a couple things popped into my head. The first one being, you know, if God can create animals
Mm.
like the lion and just, the snake, what does that really say about him?
Oh.
These animals that you're wrestling with, that you're chasing, that you're catching, that there's an element of danger with them.
Oh.
In your experience, what do you think, since that's the way you connect with God, what do you think that kind of reveals about him?
That's a hard question because things are very different after Adam and Eve sinned.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go out and try to catch a lion. I'm sorry, that's too
For
big.
sure.
I might try it, maybe. You never know. Wild Man Dan's
day.
pretty crazy. But I just think God's mind is so vast. And you know what? I think I know the best. There is a professor, and
Mhm.
I love his breakdown of Genesis 1:1, right?
Okay.
I think it's 10 words. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
Mhm.
That's it. It's like 10 words and that's it. And he explains that God created the trinities of trinities, right? He created
Right.
time, space, and matter right there. And he tells us that he created all three of these that need to exist at the exact same time.
Yeah.
Right. But the beautiful thing he says at the end, he says that a lot of people try to take God and put him in a box.
Mm-hmm.
They try to fit him in our brain, in our 10-pound brain. But the thing is,
Right.
God doesn't fit in our 10-pound brain.
Ah, there we go.
And if God does fit in our 10-pound brain, then he's not God.
Yeah.
There's no way to describe him. There's no way to understand him. There's no way to be able to understand the depths of his love or his creation or his knowledge. And that's what he did with all these animals. He was like, here, I'm going to create a world with thousands, billions of different animals that you won't even be able to discover in your own lifetime. Not even your grandchildren's or grandchildren's of grandchildren. None of them. You will continuously find something new just because I'm able to create that much. And I think that's the kind of God that I believe in, and that's the kind of God you can see with nature.
I love that, man. I'm taking notes now. I'm like taking notes here. I got to do this in real time.
Hey, like I said, I'm only spitting what other people have said that I have learned. Okay, so it's not all mine. I don't want to take credit for it.
Well, I love what you just said because, I think, I love what you're saying about, fear and respect for an animal. I think there's a healthy balance of two, right? You're not just going to go up and like, pet a lion. Like there's a
No.
healthy respect for this
Yes.
lion, enough where it should be. And I think it's no different with God. Like I think, what you're describing, being out in nature, seeing the wild of everything, I think that's beautiful because that's a healthy respect we have for God. He is wild, meaning he is untamable. We cannot control him, but we're out there. And man, there's this element of us, sometimes these animals come across you, he finds himself there with you, or you're reaching out to him and having that relationship with him. So just as you were sharing, but one thing I think is interesting, man, that you're describing is I think most people use nature or the natural as an excuse to not believe in God.
Oh.
But for other people, it seems like, and even Paul talks about this in Romans chapter 1, it becomes the most basic means by which we can know that there is a God. Like, I don't know. I just find that really, really interesting. I think he uses the argument that creation itself testifies to the fact of God's qualities, his characteristics, like who he is type of thing. So I love that you said that.
You couldn't be more right. And I mean, like you're talking about evolution versus creation right there. It's the two that will till the end of time be like this,
Right.
There are creationists that believe in natural selection. There are some evolutionists that believe in a higher power, and they talk about it in simple terms. My easiest breakdown, I went to public school and I went to private school. I got a little bit of both. And my greatest class was philosophy of science with Dr. Brand in Loma Linda University, where he broke it down. And I thought it was beautiful. He took it from both perspectives. He showed where there are weaknesses and where there are strengths in both creationism and also evolution. And I think that's the best thing anyone could teach anybody. Whether you're in public school or in private school. And it's to let you decide. But for me, way too complicated to just happen by chance. I'm sorry. I mean, like, just breaking down a cell is so complicated. I have to study in order to take a test, and we still don't understand all of it, right? Like, how is everything made out of protons, neutrons, and electrons? Anyone else want to describe this to me? Because that makes no sense how that's just going to happen by chance. My skin is made out of the same stuff that this computer is made out of.
Yeah, that's nuts.
So two different functions. One's alive and one's not. How does that make sense? Why is it that we can't bring life into anything? We can procreate. We could do that. I could make a baby, but I can't bring life into this computer, even though it's made out of the same stuff I'm made out of. And I think it's because we just have something extra. And Genesis tells us what that extra is. That God breathed the breath of life into us, as well as spoke everything into existence, even everything that has life. If you want life, it comes from God. For me, I believe in God. I believe in creation. I don't mind talking about natural selection. We could see it happening every single day. Things do change. That happens. Absolutely. But I choose not to believe that I come from, something that happened from an accident. I personally, I just choose that.
I think it's amazing. And I think even what you're describing, and I love that you brought that up about, the education aspect of things that, if you could just explain it and prove it, it would be easier. But even with understanding it and being tested on it, there's still so much we don't know about, just even creation itself. And I think that just maybe goes to show, which what you're kind of explaining and trying to capture through the Wild Man Dan show, is that there is no way you can understand all of it. However, we are able to experience it. We are able to step out, and by faith, we have a certain knowledge of things and responsibly step out, but experience it. I think nature, perhaps to some degree, of course, studied. I know you're into venom. That's kind of like that's a kind of thing. What's up with that? You're doing some venom studies on, venom also being like a remedy and.
Oh, yeah. So at Loma Linda University, we do a lot of studies on venomous animals. There are some students that are currently taking venom and making it into medicine. That happens a lot. We actually use snakes. We use snakes more than any other animal when it comes to medicines. So there's a lot of benefits from these things that can be harmful to us.
Right.
But if we don't take the time to research it, we'll never know.
Yeah.
If we go out and kill all these snakes and they become extinct, you never know if the cure for cancer was right there.
Wow.
And all you did was took off the snake's head. And all you had to do was just leave it alone for somebody else to figure out. So it's all about learning and giving yourself the opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
And that's all you need. But yeah, at Loma Linda, we do work with a lot of venomous animals. I am not doing that yet, but I'm hoping to go back and work on my master's and hopefully PhD at the same time. So, and hopefully I'll get to pick a cool snake, and then I'll get to do something where I can benefit humans.
Dude, that is exciting. That's beautiful, right? When you can take what you love and also use that for service to humanity as well.
Yeah.
Like, then everyone wins.
Without a doubt. You know, to be able to do what you love for work, it's true. You never work a day in your life. I love doing this. I love talking to people. I love sharing about animals. And if God gives me the opportunity, or if somebody out there wants to bless me through God and give me the opportunity to do this for the rest of my life, I'm going to shake your hand.
No, I love that, man. That's so good. But I love what you're sharing just about, there's so much to understand about nature. And it can teach us so much about God and even about ourselves. And, I think what we were saying, nature is something that's meant to be experienced. You can never understand all there is about it. You can have knowledge of it, but I think we're meant, like God, we're meant to step out and experience it. I don't think we could ever know all that there is to know about God. No. You just said, Genesis 1:1, there is too much happening. If I can fit the creator of this world into my small brain, then he is not God. Like there's no capacity. So I love that because it keeps things exciting. It keeps things wondrous, mind-blowing. Because I work with high schoolers, man, and I teach Bible, and Bible is fun to teach, but I'm just teaching information. And so it's so, you know what I mean? Like we try to make it experiential, and we have some really good moments, but there are just some students who, like you just said, I've heard it all. I've grown up with this. I've listened to all the stories. I've heard the crazy testimonies, but that's kind of it. But I love what you're doing because this is kind of like, this is how you experience it. Yeah. This is walking in it. One funny story that I'll kind of share is, speaking of nature and learning things, is I was out in the middle of, I was actually at Camp Yavapines with Pastor Ben Lundquist, and he kind of gave us this assignment to go out into nature and connect with God, to see how we can kind of, see what God might be saying to us through the things around us. So just kind of like pause. He was like, don't force anything. Just kind of look around. What is God saying to you? And I'm like in the middle of I'm somewhere like far back in the woods. And I look, and there is just it looks like a snake. And there's just this very long snake. And I'm like, what is happening right now? And I just kind of look closer, and what I realize is kind of like, it's just snake skin, but it's just this beautifully shredded snake skin. And I was like, man, this is wild. And I just kind of took a moment, and I felt God clearly say, no Bible in hand or anything. I just kind of felt God clearly say, Zach, we're on to new beginnings. The old is gone. The new has come. Let's get rid of this old thing. We're moving on to better things. So I don't know. I find that so exciting about what you're doing is, instead of trying to, prove creation, just experience it, understand it, and learn to appreciate it. So I appreciate you for sharing that, man.
Yeah, no. And that's a beautiful story, honestly. The snake shed skin. Yeah. That sounds just like one. I don't know if you heard my story at the end of Yavapines.
No. Share it, please.
I'll have to share it with you. It's a long one, but it's very similar. It's my very first encounter with God when I was in Costa Rica. I'll have to. Oh, if we have time, I'll tell you about it. But
go for it, man. Let's do it.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, where do I start, man? I don't know. Okay. Being a pastor's kid, you hear all the stories, just like your high schoolers tell you. Oh, yeah, God's real, whatever. Why doesn't he talk to me? That was my biggest thing.
Yeah.
If he's all powerful, if he created all of this, why hasn't he just shown himself? Even if it's just his little finger. Moses got to see his back. What the heck? Where am I?
Show me something.
Am I not as important? And that was something I was just struggling with. I was struggling with, is God real? And that's something that all of us do. We
Yeah.
all have to make a decision to believe, to have faith. It's
Yeah.
just like evolution. We have to have faith in what we believe in, whether we came from nothing or if we actually did come from someone like God. And that was my struggle. And my thing is that if God loves me so much, why can't he do this for me? He's so powerful. What is it that it's holding him back? Is it me? Does he really not care about me? Am I just not that important? Or does he even exist? Because if he doesn't exist, that makes a lot more sense, personally.
Right.
So that was my thing. But I was on my way to Costa Rica for a mission trip. And I wanted to test God, even though it tells us not to. I told God I'm doing it. I don't care. If you're real, you got to prove it to me.
Yeah.
There's a butterfly. It's called the blue Morpho butterfly. Dude, I think I have one. Well, it's broken, but yeah, freaking.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's got that beautiful blue, and then on the other side, this is what it looks like, right? So,
oh, wow.
Unfortunately, the wing just broke.
Oh, I'm so sorry, man.
It's all right. It happens. They're very fragile. So, but that's the blue Morpho butterfly right there.
Yeah.
So I told God, I'd never seen one before.
Yeah.
And my rule was, actually, where's my lizard? Oh, there you are. Sneaky little devil. So the rule was, I wanted to see one and I wanted to catch one. I was going to bring my butterfly net. And if I didn't get to see one and catch one, you don't exist. Seems pretty harsh. Personally, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, wow, I'm such a dummy.
That's an ultimatum.
Yeah, right. But for me, it was the real deal. How hard is it for the God of the entire universe, who is all powerful, who doesn't fit in my 10-pound brain, that I can't even understand? How hard is it to show me something I want to see? An insect. I'm not even asking for some like jaguar in the middle of nowhere. I'm just asking for a blue Morpho butterfly, which should be capable of found, which should be easy to be found there. So we get there. The first day, I find a rhinoceros beetle. These things are beautiful, big, and they've got that rhinoceros horn. Then I find the female. I caught iguanas. I almost caught a Jesus Christ lizard. Those things run on the water.
Oh, okay.
I say I almost did because I never did. And I want to say I almost did because I wasn't even remotely close, okay? Not even remotely close. I tried to run on water. It's not possible, okay? It's not possible. I hit the water and I just flipped, and he went across onto the side. Little stupid lizard. It was fast, man. But the one lizard I didn't catch while I was out there. I saw butterflies of all different shapes, colors, and sizes. I saw geckos. I saw a gecko that had an orange head with a blue body. Never seen a gecko like this in my entire life.
Wow, yeah.
I saw snakes. I got to climb a tree with a sloth. I got to see howler monkeys. I got to take on an entire troop of white-faced monkeys. One of the big males came down, or I don't know, one of the big monkeys came down. I was standing next to the tree, and there was a whole bunch of them all around me. And he came down like face to face, and he hissed. He was like, and so I was like, what else am I going to do? I'm going to hiss back. So I was like, and literally they all kept on running. It was the funniest thing I've ever had to be. I was like, I'm about to take on a bunch of monkeys.
Yes.
Imagine me just like throwing across monkeys, like fighting them off. Oh, man. I saw things I'd never seen before in my entire life. And I was there for 3 weeks. 3 weeks, right? But for 2.5 weeks, I didn't see the blue Morpho butterfly.
Yeah.
And every single day that went by was more and more discouraging, because I would spend hours in that rainforest.
Yeah.
I would go off trail. I would go on the trail. I would go super deep. I would go super short. I would get lost sometimes and miraculously find my way back. Right?
Wow.
But couldn't show me the blue Morpho butterfly.
Yeah.
And I just remember it was the last day we were there, or like the second to last day, because the day we left, I wasn't gonna have time. So it was my last opportunity. And my brother and we went in. And I told my brother, listen, we're gonna go deeper than we ever gone before. I'm not gonna stop until I get somewhere I have never been. Maybe then can I see that blue Morpho butterfly. And I told God, this is it. This is my last opportunity. Yeah. And the thing I think people don't realize is I was about to give up on everything I had been taught.
Yeah.
I was about to give up on everything that I had believed in. The idea that somebody out there that beautiful and that big and that powerful loves someone as small as me, to give that up means I'm absolutely worthless.
Right.
What does my life have any meaning if there's nothing to live for? I might as well just do whatever the heck I want. There's no reason to be good or bad.
Yeah.
It's meaningless.
Yeah.
So I was out there. We walked past the sloths, past the lizards, past that Jesus Christ lizard that I can never catch. We walked past the iguanas, past the beetles, past the flowers, past the trees, the monkeys, the howler monkeys, you name it. Whatever it was, I saw it all over again, and I was like, whatever. It's not what I'm looking for. We had an agreement for the blue Morpho butterfly. And we're super deep. We're stuck in all sorts of stuff. There's trees everywhere, vines. There's this giant bush. There's a cloud of mosquitoes behind me. I'm sure you ran into the mosquitoes more than once, man. Oh my goodness, those things are disgusting.
For sure.
It's so bad, just eating you alive, sucking the life out of you. And you saw the back of that butterfly. You saw how well it's camouflaged. It looks like a dead leaf. So this animal isn't easy to find. What you're hoping to do is spook it, and hopefully it starts flying and you can see that blue. That blue is a great contrast against that greenery around you. You can't miss blue.
Right.
So I'm walking by this giant bush of foliage and vines and all sorts of stuff on the right side. And on the left are giant trees and the canopy above, and it's kind of open on the left.
Yeah.
And I'm walking, and honestly, I'm getting a little discouraged. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to see it. I've seen everything that I saw already, but I want to see this butterfly. And as I'm walking, I saw just a hint of blue for once in 3 weeks on this side, on my right side with all these bushes.
Yeah.
And now I'm excited. I'm like, this is it. God does exist. Like, oh my goodness, everything I was taught isn't all a lie. All I got to do now is catch it. If I catch it, we're done.
Yeah.
So I'm checking this bush high and low, every little nook and cranny. And finally, there's that butterfly. And boom, he takes out of that bush into the direction of all those open trees, and I chase after him. I don't even care about my brother who I just take off. I'm out. This is it. This is where I was looking for. This is what God wanted me to see. So I am running, and I'm going in and out between trees, jumping over logs, getting around vines and stuff. I'm getting choked and slapped and scratched and whipped and all sorts of stuff. But I've got that butterfly in my sight, right? It's like how we're chasing God every single day. We can see him. He's there. We just got to keep running. But man, we're just not fast enough. And I'm not. And as I kept watching, that butterfly kept getting smaller and smaller. And I started losing him for for longer and longer periods of time. He would turn around a tree. I would turn around it, and I'd have to look around. Oh, there he is. I lost him again. Keep running. Keep running. Keep running. I'm not on the trail anymore. I'm just running. I'm chasing after this. And eventually, man, I lost him. I was so angry and sad, I fell on my knees and started just screaming and cursing. I was mad at the world.
Yeah.
I was mad at my parents. I was mad at myself. I was just mad. And I was so sad and heartbroken because the one time I thought it was all real, it was just ripped away from me.
Yeah.
In an instant. So I'm there, I'm on my hands and knees, and I'm crying. I'm screaming, I'm yelling. Because now I also realize I'm completely lost. Like this time, like before, I didn't walk too far off the trail, but I ran.
You're gone.
And I'm lost. I don't know where my brother is. I don't know where I am. God doesn't exist. My life has no meaning. What's the purpose of any of this stuff? Why did I spend all those times reading and praying to someone who doesn't even exist? So I'm laying there and I'm screaming, I'm crying. And finally, I'm just like, you know what? I got to try to find my way back. I don't want to die here.
Yeah.
So I might as well see if I can find my brother. So I quiet down and I'm like, all right, it's time to get out. And I'm just quiet and I'm finally just listening and I hear movement like all around me.
Okay.
Like as if stuff is moving.
Oh no.
And I'm like, well, this could either be really bad or really good, right? And so I slowly get up and I open my eyes and I'm just like, okay, what's going on? Where am I? And I notice I'm surrounded by flowers. They're all over the ground. They're all around me. I mean, like up in the canopy, on the sides, there are bushes of flowers, and then there's fruit trees all around me.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, I start to see blue in every which way direction. There's blue on the ground. There's blue up in the trees. There's blue on that bush. There's blue on that bush. There's blue on that flower. There's blue right there on that fruit that's on the ground. There's blue, 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 blue.
Yeah.
And as I finally stand up completely, I am surrounded by blue Morpho butterflies.
Wow.
And they all start flying in all which way directions. Hundreds of them, man. I mean, hundreds of them. Wow. And I finally realized for the first time in my life that I have been so blind and I wasn't listening. God had been talking to me since I got there. I'd never seen a rhinoceros beetle.
Yeah.
I never caught one either.
Yeah.
And we weren't even 5 minutes off the bus and I grabbed one. How about all those other animals? I've never climbed a tree with a sloth. Never took on an entire troop of monkeys.
Right.
All those geckos and lizards and butterflies. Sure, I didn't catch the Jesus Christ lizard, but I'd never seen one before in real life.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important, is that we need to recognize that God is talking to us all the time. But are you listening?
Wow.
Are you taking a moment to stop and listen, just for even just a small moment? Because right then, when I broke down and I finally gave it all up,
yeah,
and I decided just to listen, is when I heard what I was looking for.
Woo!
So
that is wild. So many comparisons come up, man. The story of Elijah. You know, Elijah saw the earthquake, he saw the fire, he saw the thunder, the wind, but God, you know, he's like, well, God wasn't in any of those, but in the still small voice, there God was, dude. That's beautiful. And the other thing is just like you said, man, Romans 1, it's just that whole idea. I make my students memorize it. I think it says, for since the creation of this world, God's invisible qualities and his power, the Godhead, have been clearly seen through what has been made. And you just said it. You were looking for the blue butterfly, but he was, you know, he showed himself in a variety of different ways. But yet, God says, seek, you shall find. And you were seeking. You ran after it. You went all in, full surrender. And then you were just surrounded by it, man. That's crazy.
All you have to do is just stop and listen, man. That's it. Even if you fall. Man. And I think that's so beautiful, because I finally fell. But that falling is what got me to stop and listen.
Yeah. That is powerful, man. Dude, thank you so much for sharing that.
No, thank you for listening. And everybody else is listening out there.
that's an incredible story. I love that, man. I think that's nature at its finest, and I think that's us experience God at our best. We have to go out there and we have to actually seek it. We have to, what does the Bible say? I think it says, taste and see that the Lord is good. You have to take the action. You have to get it, take it, taste it, do something with it. Don't just, you know, sit around and not do anything, but get out there and go after it, man. So that's exciting, man. You're living the journey for sure.
Hey, John, I'm trying. It's a step at a time.
That's cool, man. Well, dude, thank you so much for sharing, man. This has been an awesome experience. Thank you for sharing some of your crazy animals. I know you have more creepy crawlers and insects that are around that you couldn't necessarily, you know, all bring. But where can we follow you? What are the best platforms to follow you on? What should we look for? All that.
Man, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. I'm pretty sure that's about it.
Yeah.
And it's all really easy to find. You just type in there, Wild Man Dan Show. 4 words, no spaces in between. Type that in, and I promise you'll find my logo right there. The YouTube channel is still up and running, but we got the teaser trailer out there. And if you want to help with the development of the show, you can with our Gofundme page, which you can find a link on any one of our social media platforms, as well as with the teaser trailer. we're trying to bring some animation to the actual show itself.
For sure.
Give it a little bit of excitement for you guys. So, but yeah, man. But no, truly, I got to tell you, man, thank you so much. It has been an honor and a blessing. And I hope we can do this again one day soon.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, man.
Hey everybody, I'm Wildman Dan, and this is the Wildman Dan Show. I'm excited. We're definitely gonna find something today. Guys, snake. She's beautiful, absolutely amazing. Oh, she's gorgeous. Don't want to get tagged by one of these. Who knows what we're gonna find, but it's going to be awesome, and I can't wait to take you guys on this adventure.